All right, Alex, how are you? How's your day?
What's up, man? I'm fine. I'm fine. Just finished working here around. What about you?
I am doing great. I'm doing fine. So what can I do for you, Alex? How can I help you? You're a Christian. You put Christian. So do you have questions about Islam, or do you want me to ask you about Christianity? Either way, welcome to go ahead.
Yeah, no. So I've heard a little bit, not all the discussion with not the atheist guy, but the guy before.
Ah,
And
okay.
you said some things like, for example, that you cannot trust the Gospels because they are anonymous. But doesn't in your Quran Allah tell Muhammad that he told about some of the prophets and some of the prophets are unknown to him?
Sure. How
Yeah, so
are you making connection between
no
these two
problem.
things?
It would be no problem of anonymity, even though, for example, in your Quran, it confirms the Torah in the Injil in the 7th century.
Yeah. Okay, let me highlight like how this is obviously very, very different, like two different examples that are not related. Our salvation is not based on what these prophets said or who they were by name. Do you agree with that? So can I go to paradise without knowing the names?
Not necessarily.
Can I go as a Muslim? As a Muslim, no. As a Muslim in Islam, can I go to paradise without knowing the names of these prophets or what exactly they said to their people?
Without knowing their names, yes. But maybe, for example,
if as well?
Because
Allah didn't mention anything about them.
Because
that means we're all going to hellfire then in Islam, because Allah told us He didn't tell us about them, but we're still going to paradise because it is not a requirement for our salvation. Yes.
What I'm saying is that anonymity shouldn't be a problem if there are some prophets. It says prophets.
No.
Yeah,
can you focus
mentioned.
on my Alex, please. Can you focus on my point, because you're answering something I didn't answer. I'm gonna please. Here's my point. Do Muslims rely on their salvation on the knowledge of the names of the prophets or the details of their lives, the ones that are not mentioned? Is our salvation based on the names of these prophets or what they did, the anonymous ones? Is it based on it? Or do we go to paradise without knowing them?
You can go to paradise without knowing them.
Therefore, it doesn't matter whether we know this information or not. However, is your salvation dependent on the information written by the anonymous author in the 4 Gospels? Yes or no?
Yes, but this is not about Christianity and then...
No. Here's where your analogy falls. Here's where your analogy falls apart.
No, it doesn't. You know why? Because in Christianity, we don't say that they are anonymous. We have internal and
but
external...
You asked me, I'm sorry, Alex. Look, you asked me the question based on the fact that they're anonymous. You said, you guys say they're anonymous, but you also have anonymous. So you were agreeing now, assuming within your question that they are anonymous. Now you're changing the premise of the question and saying, I don't agree they're anonymous. That is a different discussion now. In my entire discussion with the guy, I was proving that they're anonymous. And then I said it's an issue that they are anonymous. If they're not anonymous, then we wouldn't have an issue, would we? We're going to highlight other issues. My argument is based on the fact that they're anonymous. Your argument is based on the fact that we believe in anonymous prophets. So we're assuming anonymity here in the discussion. So please don't change the premise. So I said to you, here is where the clear 2 examples fall apart, and they're completely different. One is something to do with your salvation. Our issue is you're telling us this is how you have salvation, and it is information that comes from contradictory authors, anonymous authors, and therefore, okay, we say that since this is the case, we're not going to accept this. Now, if it's something irrelevant information, it's not, your salvation is not based upon it. You want to accept it, accept it. Someone wants to reject it, reject it. It's irrelevant. Has nothing to do with your salvation. If it doesn't, then it's not a big deal. Now we're talking about salvation and entering and what events happen that deals with the salvation of a person. This is where the distinction is being made.
Yeah, well, you went a long time for nothing, because all I wanted to tell is that according to the Quran, anonymity has nothing to do. Yeah, so even though I just granted you that, yeah, just for the sake of the argument. Let's say that they are anonymous. Yes, in the 7th century they were anonymous.
Who? The writers of the Gospels?
The Gospels. They were anonymous, or they were
The writers of the Gospels
names
were
were
anonymous
written.
in the 7th. The writers of the Gospels were anonymous in the 7th century, like they are anonymous today. There's no difference, yeah.
Oh, really? So in the Codex Sinaiticus, Codex Alexandrinus, Codex Vaticanus, weren't the
Yeah.
names Gospel according to Matthew written on the Gospels?
Yeah, some random person wrote first names of people that are anonymous. You realize the first name doesn't make you not anonymous. If I wrote a book, if I wrote a book and said, Alex stole from the shop. Well, which Alex, man? There's a million Alex in the universe. We gotta determine who is this Alex? Which Alex am I talking about? What is his first, last name? Where is he left? Who is this Alex? So we can go and arrest him for stealing from the shop. Just Alex, first name of somebody written somewhere, is not an identification of an individual. If you want to say someone is not anonymous, you need to bring their life, their details, their identification as an individual. You know, you have an identification document with you, an ID to identify you. It doesn't just say Alex, does it? It says your first and last name, middle name, your date of birth, your country of birth, because it's an identification document that identifies you from other individuals, okay? So these first names, which were slapped later on the Gospels, has nothing to do with anonymity. That's why they were anonymous in the 7th century, and they are anonymous today, regardless of the fact that there is a first name that was slapped later on to differentiate one gospel from another, like Philip Comfort says and other textual criticism scholars.
So even though they were slapped on, as you said, which is totally disanalogous on what happened in the church history, and I know that you know that, and I don't know why are you doing this, but
how is that?
Even though we have in the church history and also internal information that corroborate with the church history that we know who the writers were in the 7th century, you cannot say that they were anonymous because you have their names. You have nowhere in your Quran, for example, saying that the Injil that the Christians say that have are anonymous. No, it just says that Christians should abide by the Injil that they have in the 7th century. And in the 7th century, they knew very well who the writers were. So no, it's not anonymous, also according to the Quran. So you are bringing, I don't know, like an agnostic, Bart Ehrman type of stuff in discussion while you are a Muslim. So you are not being consistent.
Okay, I'm going to give you one last chance before removing you. Did I explain why a first name, it doesn't mean something is not anonymous?
Yes, you said because you don't have his whole biography.
I didn't say whole biography.
Which is irrelevant.
I went on to explain to you that why an identification document doesn't just have a first name, because the first name doesn't identify you. Or every person's ID on earth will just have the first name, because it's enough as an identification from one individual to the other individual. It doesn't just have your first name. It needs to have the first and last name, date of birth, place of birth, ID number, all of these information, so it can be a form of identification that differentiates you from one another. So when I go on and explain to you that the first name does not mean that someone is therefore identified, and you go on to answer by saying they had the first name, then I'm talking to myself. Then when you go on and say Bart Ehrman, and I explicitly said to the guy in the discussion that I'm not using Bart Ehrman, I'm using the Daniel B. Wallace, Bruce Metzger, Philip Comfort, which are all Christian scholars, defenders of the Bible, the ones that debate against Bart Ehrman, and you turn around and say, I'm using Bart Ehrman, then you are not listening to my discussion to begin with.
No, you are not listening to what I'm saying. I just given Bart Ehrman as a name of an agnostic who uses...
So, one second, Alex, 1 second. I'm stopping you, but 1 second. Here's what you said word for word. You said to me, I went in my description and I said that the writers of the Gospels are anonymous in the 7th century. While in the 7th century, the names of the writers of the Gospels were written down. Therefore, they're not anonymous. And the Quran tells us to go to the people of the Scripture, read from the people of the Scripture. Therefore, these were not anonymous. And then you went on and mentioned Bart Ehrman, who's agnostic, but you're a Muslim, so you cannot use... You see how I'm repeating what you said word for word? Because I'm listening to you. However, if I tell you to repeat what I said, I know you're not going to be able to do it. So please don't say to me that I'm not listening to you, because not only am I listening to you, I can repeat to you what you said word for word. Now, again, you repeat to me now what I said to you.
Can I answer?
After your statement. Go ahead. Please repeat to me what I said to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, this is just stupid. So we won't have a conversation like this. Tell me what you said. Tell me what I said. Can we have a discussion? Or we are being parrots. Or we are being parrots. Yes, you said now what I said, but you misrepresented what I said when you spoke before. So don't act like a disingenuous person. Now let's talk about the topic and don't jump from one to another.
Alex,
Stop
like I said,
asking me, repeat.
Alex, chill. I said to you, why am I telling you to repeat what I said? Because you cannot have a discussion if the person makes a statement and you go on and speak about something completely different where he already answered your question. That's not a discussion. So the reason I asked you to repeat is to make sure that you're actually paying attention to what I'm saying. If you're not paying attention to what I'm saying, then we will be talking across path each other. You're talking in Morocco, I'm talking in Spain, and we think we're understanding each other. No. I gotta make sure that you actually have listening skills and you're actually able to understand the argument I'm making. If you are, then yeah, we can have a discussion. But if I'm saying something and you're gonna go and repeat what you said again, then you just, I'm sorry, with all due respect, we're wasting each other's time. So the reason I'm asking you to repeat is to make sure that you're actually paying attention to the argument I'm making and understanding it. So I'm gonna ask you, when you made that statement, which you agreed that I correctly represented what you said, what was my response to it? What did I say?
Yeah, you said that they
you don't
are
have to say word for word.
Just right.
You don't have to say word for word. Yeah.
Just writing the first name, which were the only names that people had in antiquity in first century Judea, by the way. I don't know if you know that. You said that you read some scholars. I don't know what scholars have you read? Yes. Just because you write the first name over there, but not knowing their date of birth, the last name, where they lived, you cannot know, who this person was. This is what you said, like paraphrasing what you said. Which is a stupid thing, because like this, we don't know who Adam was. Do you know when Adam was born? Do you know, I don't know, his card? Like
okay, would you
ID
like me to answer you now?
that he had, the number of the ID that
would
he
you like
had?
it? Yeah, I know
Adam,
when Adam was born, yeah. Adam was born
okay,
when God created him.
Tell me the day. Tell me the day.
Could you let me speak? Thank you. Adam was born in heaven. It wasn't on earth where there was years and dates. God created him in heaven, and our belief fashioned him in heaven. Therefore, to say a year, which is applicable to our here in a worldly perspective, doesn't work. But we know how he was born. We knew he was born he was created directly by God, fashioned directly by God. Then God breathed into him life. Then we know that he created from him his wife. Then we know that he had children. Then we know that he commanded him not to eat from the tree. Then we know that he disobeyed God and ate from the tree. And then we know that God sent him to earth. And then we know that he had progeny. And then we know he had kids, Cain and Abel and other kids. We know the names of his kids. Then we know what his kids did to each other, one of them killing the other. We know many, many, many things about Adam. So yeah, we don't just have a first name of Adam. So when it comes to Adam, we have all of this information about him. My point is very simple. I said a first name alone, it is not enough to then identify an individual. Okay? So when you bring me now the life story of an individual, please go ahead, bring me the life story of this individual, who they were, where they were, what they did or they didn't do. Your example with Adam fell apart so quickly because it proves my point again. So do you agree? And this is the question that matters. Do you agree that only a first name is not sufficient to identify an individual? Yes or no?
In a sense, yes.
Is it sufficient in any sense to identify an individual?
Only by the first name, no.
Yeah. Okay. That's it. So when you make an argument and I say they were anonymous and you come and say, oh, their names were there, the first names were there, it doesn't dispute what I said. So your argument fell apart. So they were anonymous because you just having the first name. This is the whole point I was making. Just because you had the first name does not make these people now not anonymous, especially that these names were added later on by anonymous people.
Like anonymous people, yes. Literally, we have Irenaeus who says who wrote what. Also, other church fathers.
I said the names were added to the Gospels by anonymous people.
Yes,
I'm
because
repeating
they
again.
knew who they wrote them, and we don't have only their names, we have only parts of their lives. We know who they were. For example, Matthew was a tax collector. He had a tax collector who said that it was Levi, and the Lord said, "Come,
One second.
follow me."
1 second. Name, Matthew, tax collector. Do you have any other info?
About Matthew, that only this I think we have. We know that Matthew
Okay.
was
So let me ask this
a
question.
tax collector.
If do you know Mahmoud, the accountant? Do you know him? You know Mahmoud, the accountant?
What?
The accountant, Mahmoud, you know him?
Well, if you tell me Mahmoud the accountant who wrote this, I would know that. I would know it.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Do you know? Wait. Do you know Mahmoud, the accountant that wrote my tax, my end of year tax revenue? Do you know Mahmoud, the accountant?
No, but you already gave some information, so we can take what he wrote, even though maybe he didn't sign it,
Alex,
and we can attribute it to Mahmoud. So you just buried yourself.
Just yes or no. Let's move just to the yes or no. You said you don't know Mahmoud, the accountant, right?
No, but you just gave some information, so you know what he wrote.
Wait, let me please finish, man. Let me finish what I'm saying, please, for God's sake. Do you know Mahmoud, the accountant? You said no. Now, I'm going to ask you the question. Is it enough to identify an individual if you have the first name and profession only? Is that enough to identify a person?
No, but also if you say what he wrote, it is enough.
Wait. Not without but. Just yes or no. You said no. It is not enough. So since it is not enough,
sorry, I always qualify.
I'm going to come to your qualification. I'm just sticking to my point. Because I asked you, what do we know about Matthew? You said we only know that Matthew, his first name was Matthew and he was a tax collector. Now, the idea that he wrote Matthew is the whole point we're contesting here. You're assuming what we are arguing, if true or not, you're assuming it is true. Bro, I'm sorry, pay attention. We're having a discussion to see whether it is true that he's the writer of these gospels. We're saying it's anonymous author. I disagree that he's the writer. You need to prove that. Since you haven't proved that, you cannot say, no, but we know what he wrote. We don't, because I'm disagreeing that he's the one who wrote it. So all you have is the first name and profession. A first name and a profession of an individual, it is not an identification of who that person was. So since you have nothing else, you cannot come and claim that you know who these people were.
I didn't say that I have nothing else. The discussion is not about
so you have
who these persons were. Yes, we have. I've already told you we have a long church history that tell us about who and what wrote. But now don't run from your Quran.
You tell me the only body is running is we're not talking about the Quran from the beginning of the discussion. What are you talking about, man? Answer the question now.
We did.
Go ahead and tell me the other information that you have and their sources about Matthew. Go ahead.
We have from Clement, from Irenaeus, from Tertullian, from Origen.
Go ahead. Yeah, none of these people are contemporary to Matthew. Where is the information they have about his life?
What? You don't
none
have
of these
to be
individuals
contemporary to know who he was.
Oh, okay. So where is the source of their information and what did they say?
Okay, was Bukhari contemporary to Muhammad?
Can you stop with the red herring and answer the question?
No, it's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Nobody here. Let me
you hold me to some standards that you yourself don't hold yourself to.
So I'm muted you. So I'm going to say this very, very simply. Go ahead and tell me, because you haven't brought any information. Go ahead and show me, where is this information about Matthew? Go ahead. Quote the information about Matthew, and then bring me their sources for their information. You say, was Bukhari contemporary? There is people contemporary to Bukhari that spoke about Bukhari. So if I'm making a claim about Bukhari, I need contemporary people reporting information from him. So if Clement was contemporary to Matthew, he can talk about someone who he lived with. I have people that lived with Bukhari, that met Bukhari and reported from Bukhari. You don't have that with Matthew. So please stop with the red herrings. Again, I'm going to ask you the question and stick on the question. When it comes to Matthew, go ahead and tell me what are these information that you have about Matthew, other than him being a tax collector?
Yeah, so first of all, straw man about Bukhari. What I said about Bukhari is was Bukhari a contemporary with Muhammad, my friend?
I'm muting you again, and I'm going to give you a last point. You're going to keep talking about Bukhari because I know you have no answer, so you're just going to keep saying Bukhari. This is the last chance I'm giving you. Where is this information?
Man, you are a coward.
Where? Okay, I'm a coward?
Yes.
I'm a coward.
You keep muting me when I keep speaking and you keep interrupting me.
Are you going to humble yourself and apologize for that? Or do you want me to give you a response?
You are a coward. You are a coward, man. You are a coward.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Okay. If I'm a coward, at least I was not put on a cross, stripped naked, and I couldn't defend myself, and people spat on me and they humiliated me while I looked up to them when they were defeating me, and I was begging God for help. Okay. So if you want to talk about being a coward, this is the God that you're worshiping. Okay. So continue worshiping that God, my friend. All right.
يا من صنعتم في الأرض نورا يا قلوبا فيها الوفاء بشركم اليوم السرورا